Hey there guys, how are you? Welcome back to another awesome video, and it's time to talk about another movie review. As I take care of this real quick. Sorry about that. But today is gonna be another movie review, and we're gonna be reviewing the Batman, the 1989 Batman movie, to be exact, because this was the sort of the first Batman movie to ever be seen. Technically, this isn't in a way because there was that old like 1960s Adam West Batman movie that they kind of did, but this was the first Batman movie that kind of brought him to the character that he is now, and this was directed by Tim Burton, and it's basically your central thing you expect from Batman's origin story. What happened? Okay, we all know who Batman is. This is kind of just common knowledge at this point. You know who Batman is. You know who the Joker is. That's basically the main premise here. Is you got Batman, Caped Crusader, and these guys' arch nemesis, the Joker. Sort of make things simpler because obviously those two are very infamous characters within DC Comics and everything. So this, like I said before, is directed by Tim Burton, and I've said how much I have not a thing, but how much I appreciate Tim Burton, especially a lot of his older work, because let's face it, like most of his when he was like in the 80s and the 90s directing movies and doing all these other projects and kind of not the Burton nowadays, kind of like back then Burton, he made masterpieces. And I've reviewed one of them before, and I'll leave a link in the description for that review. And this one's also a masterpiece in some cases because this really brought the Dark Knight into the Batman we all know and love. Not that we don't love the sort of cheesy Adam West Batman, that's its own thing and whatnot, and it was very goofy, it's campy, it's fun like that. But this was the movie that brought Batman to the dark, gritty, tragic, psychological person, crime fighter, detective, superhero, vigilante that we all know and are very familiar with no matter what. So, with that being said, this was done really well, and Burton really brought this sort of movie to life. The city itself feels right, like the Gotham City feels like out of like the pages, like he took the art style of the comics and just put it right on that screen and everything. Sure, there's a whole thing with the original Batman actor Michael Keaton. I don't want to say he was perfect casting, but I want to say this real quick about a few things on Keaton, because Keaton is phenomenal. He's probably one of the best actors that's played Batman before. He's probably one of the definitive ones. Sure, he's not Kevin Conroy, but he's still one of the best to this day. And it still surprises me that the fact that back in the day when they announced this actor, Michael Keaton, to be Batman, people, because the thing was, before the internet was a thing, people were raving and raging, like, seriously, this guy was coming off of movies like silly goofy comedies like Multiplicity, The Dream Team, and one of his more famous movies, Mr. Mom. So people are like, what, Mr. Mom is Batman? That kind of sounds a little bit crazy, like that kind of sounds stupid. Kind of like how people were ready to jump the gun on Heath Ledger as the Joker. People were kind of like that dude from Knight's Tale. They were like, nah. Same thing with Ben Affleck. Ben got shit for being cast as Batman and everything. But when you see Keaton in that suit and the way Burton kind of written the character, written his version of Batman, it comes together in full circle and so well. Because in a way, sure, there's not a lot of like fun punches and combat and fighting and fists that Keaton throws, but it's very interesting how Burton perceived his Batman. He didn't see it much of as a big, strong, like super like dude, like say like maybe like your big, more physical, swole guys, like say, I don't know, someone that was big, that was probably super strong and like very fit and physically looked like Batman. Nowadays, like probably in the 80s, was probably like someone like Sylvester Stallone or Arnold Schwarzenegger. That's not how Burton saw his version of Batman. And so he decided to go with sort of like, okay, maybe I can turn this guy around. And he totally did in a very phenomenal way. And it's kind of really interesting how they took this performance, because they took this character and they decided, you know what, this is a because Burton saw it as this is a character that I feel like should have very little lines, and the silence that this guy has feels like Batman. The way Keaton delivers that, the silence, even though there's not many lines, the lines are great he gives, and even the small little bits he says is good. The way he delivers the infamous "I'm Batman" is still amazing to this day, and it still gets you feel like that was the best thing you hear in ages. Even the little things he does, like the little like I don't know if it was improv or not, but the whole "you want to get nuts, let's get nuts." So that was still good. The way Keaton kind of handles Bruce Wayne, both when he's kind of like in the public eye, being all playboy, like hitting on ladies, doing stuff for charities, fundraisers, stuff like that, doing that sort of normal Bruce Wayne, billionaire, millionaire, playboy stuff. But also, he knew how to be content and very calculating when he was in the Batcave and being that side of Bruce Wayne. Because there's two sides of Bruce Wayne. There's the side that he's like more, hey, I'm more like along the lines of I got two girls sitting with me. I'm just ready to party and just sleep with this woman and have champagne and shots all around, making that money sort of thing. I don't know, sort of that sort of eccentric billionaire you expect from a billionaire personality. But then you see him. Then there's the other side of Bruce Wayne, where he's more quiet, he's more thinking. He feels more like himself this way, and you feel no matter whether he's delivering lines or not, you can feel in Keaton's presence his sort of the inside, like the inter like psyche of how this man goes through, of not only the fact he lost his parents at a young age, but knowing the guy that not murdered him, but murdered his parents. And how's that affect a child, and how does that affect you years later, and that sort of thing, and that relatability of now he's kind of got to basically fend for himself and do things on his own. And you got obviously Jack Nicholson as the Joker. And this one is definitely a lot more like perfect casting right here. Not that Keaton wasn't. This was a surprise good casting. But Nicholson from the get-go, when you think about it on paper, yes, he'd be a phenomenal Joker. He's not Heath Ledger, and he's not Mark Hamill, so it's really hard to say he's better than the two or if they're better than him. But Nicholson really does put in a nice sort of like touch of classic Joker. Like he feels like the more like not like how the Adam West series, but definitely a lot more of that older version of the Joker, old classic style, like almost mob look to him, like a gangster mafia sort of like tuxedo he's got wearing on a little bit. And there's been different iterations of the Joker's origin where he was considered a part of the mob and all these other things. Because with the Joker, it's with his origin story, it's always kind of been multiple choice. There's been different iterations of his origin story that you kind of leave it as fill in the blank, or you make it as a mystery, or you kind of put it together yourself in a way, making it more interesting to kind of be like, okay, this is a villain that you can figure out what happened to him, but at the same time, he doesn't necessarily need an origin story. And even if he does need one, there's stuff there that you can kind of be like interested in without losing that interest of what happened to this man. Why is he so insane? Why the crazy? Why the so serious? The smile? Why everything about him and whatnot? So obviously those are obviously the two best performances. Everyone else, supporting actors and actresses, are great and everything. It's really those two that are the best about this. The whole world building, the way Burton directs this feels perfect. That not fish out of water, but he has that sort of outsider, outcast, like not contrast, but comparison with his movies, because he tends to take the sort of outsider characters or outcast characters and sort of put them in this fish out of water world where here's this outsider that you wouldn't see in our world, but he tries and makes his way through the world and make ends meet and all this other stuff. If you really break it down, that's kind of how Burton's formula is. Not really a formula, but that's kind of how you can sort of tell a little bit in some cases. But that being said, this is definitely one of the better adaptations. Not one of the better, but this is one of the best DC movies I've seen in years. This is one of the best like Batman movies in terms of live action, just in terms of Batman movies in general. Obviously, it became a great franchise. It's inspired a lot more of those darker, more grittier Batman comics later on. Afterwards, this kind of I don't know if this was inspired by or if this movie inspired it, but it did inspire and spark the Batman animated series, one of the best '90s cartoons that gave us the infamous Mark Hamill Joker, one of the most famous voice actors now because of his role as the Joker. Because of this movie, it kind of gave us that grittier, more grounded, more sort of darker tone of this character. He was considered sort of goofy at the time, which is still fine for its own thing with West and everybody because that's good. But this is the one that sort of brought it together. And this is definitely a movie you kind of look at and you go, wow, this was a phenomenal movie for something that didn't need a cinematic universe. And they could have done a cinematic universe, but that back in its day would have been kind of a bit like, really? Like we would try and actually put these guys together in the same movie world? That's kind of a bit crazy. But now it's not that crazy because of look where we are now with the DCEU and everything and stuff like that. But it's still, this is one of these older movies that obviously holds up today. It's still a great movie. People love it. And then it is considered in a way a little bit of a masterpiece. The one thing I kind of will say that maybe I'm not too certain about is how, well, I guess, I don't know if I'll say this is a spoiler or not, but just in case. So Joker kind of basically gets killed at the end and everything. And in a way, you kind of could say Batman almost murdered him, but on a technicality, he didn't. But if some people are gonna say, well, Batman kind of murdered the Joker, it that's debatable. Not only that, and the fact of Batman kind of doesn't really kill, and that's kind of his code. That's kind of been his line of fire, not his line of fire, but that's where he draws the line. He's like, I'm not gonna kill somebody. And sure, I get it. They were trying to do this was definitely different, and I don't know if Burton knew of that or not. But even if Batman in that movie purposely killed the Joker, that doesn't sound like Batman. But I mean, for something different, I don't know, to be honest. But then again, he somehow, no matter whether this is Tim Burton or if it's Christopher Nolan or whoever directs a Batman movie, somehow they always make Batman either purposely or accidentally murder the bad guy. If you think about it, like Batman Begins, Batman basically says to Ra's al Ghul, "I'm not gonna kill you, but I don't have to save you." So he lets Ra's die a little bit in a way. Joker in that movie, The Dark Knight, he kind of, whether that was in his intention or not, Joker kind of just lets himself commit suicide, and Bruce doesn't do anything about it. So there's always going to be that weird aspect about it, but I guess in a way, Batman shouldn't have killed if he purposely did it, but I think it wasn't even on purpose. Obviously, this was an accidental thing, so I don't think there was a problem with that, really, to be honest. I can't really find a lot to say that's really horrible. I know some people would say that, oh, I don't see how Keaton was the best Batman. He he just did it in such a not a graceful way, but he just did it in such a very ominous way, very like silent. Like this is like a very like what would you call this? A very few words for a Cape Crusader sort of thing. And even with the costumes, they look great, and even with the effects is good. The stunt, sort of the choreography is obviously good. Batmobiles, just seeing the Batmobile, that classic Batmobile is awesome. Just gives people that grew up with this movie nostalgia. Even if you didn't grow up with this movie, this is still a beloved film, and it kind of takes you like, oh my gosh, I remember this movie, watching this or whatever, some sort of form of memory. And obviously, Batman has been around for years, and whether it's people my age, people younger, people older, are gonna have something that they can say, I know about Batman, and this is why I love Batman. And some people are going to say this is the movie that gave them Batman. And this kind of was the movie that gave us the Batman, like I said, we know and love. And I have nothing else to say but to give this an A+. I'm still going to work on like edits. So that's still a bit of a thing. But let me guys know, what is your like fondest memory about Batman, or what do you think of this '89 movie? Do you think it's as good as people say? And who is your favorite Batman actor? And it could be a voice actor. I'll say Kevin Conroy is definitely one of the best Batmans out there. I will still say I'll put Keaton up there. I'll put Bale up there. I'll put Affleck. Unfortunately, he had a short run, but I'll give him a little bit of credit for benefit of doubt, whatever the case is, etc., etc., etc. So let me know. And as always, guys, thanks for watching. If you like this video, please smash the like button. If you're new to my channel, please subscribe. I do awesome videos every day, if not a week. On top of that, I know it's been a while since I've done a video. That's because obviously now kind of school's starting for me a little bit. So it's going to be a little bit more difficult to kind of pump out stuff. But bear in mind with me, bear in mind with anyone else I'm associated with. So someone like over in JT Incorporated, bear in mind we're going to try and get something up this Friday, maybe this weekend. Who knows? We'll see. But just bear with us a little bit. It's going to be a little bit rough. It's going to be hard. There's going to be moments where it's like our channel's going to be a little bit quiet, but we'll get stuff uploaded. We're going to try and new things here and there, different stuff, whatever's going to work, whatever sticks, whatever doesn't stick. We're going to do our best. Just bear in mind with us, and make sure you ring that bell to be notified of new content every day, every week, stuff like that. So that way you are aware of what's going on and when, what, who, why, how, all sorts of things. And expect a lot of things for this channel over here. Like I said, if you guys have suggestions for reviews, top 10s, gaming, maybe we could do Q&As, maybe we do live Q&As, maybe do something live streaming, something. Don't be shy, guys. Let me know some suggestions on what I could cover on this channel. Almost anything and everything. We'll talk about maybe movie news, like what's going on with movie news. Like I'd like to cover some stuff that goes on in social media. Like, oh, this happened with let's say Warner Brothers. Oh, that happened with Marvel. This, that, and everything. So, like for example, like movie news. So for just a quick example, let's say there's a whole thing about Venom. The sequel for Venom's being talked about, and it's not gonna be Ruben Fleischer. So the actor Andy Serkis is looking to do Venom 2. So that's something I can maybe cover. That's in terms of movie news. The stuff for maybe what's rumored for Marvel's Phase 5 could be something we could talk about. All sorts of ideas. Just I have ideas, but I also want to hear what you guys think. And as always, guys, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.